To avoid dealing with a conventional database installation at this point, we are going to be using a useful tool that ships with Blazedpath. We are going to use a memory database with mock registers that we are going to be using to continue the app development without the need for a real database installation. It is important to take into account that the memory database will only be available while we are running the application, and the data we saved there will be lost once the execution is halted. So, how do we then create our memory database with mock information? Well, to do this, we go to the environments section, and as we can see, the environment right now is set to default. In this section, we can create our own environment configuration by clicking on the new build configuration. But for our example, we are going to be using the default configuration. So to configure the default environment, we click on the gear. From here, we can see the environment information of each of the systems of our application. But for now, we will be leaving the web application and microservice configuration with the default values. In the database configuration, we are going to initialize the mock environment by clicking Start Now. The tables we created on the database will be available, and we will start adding data to the topics table. Click on the table, then on Add, and now you can see how the table fields are available. In the first field, topic ID is the identifier. And even though it's defined as an integer, the memory database will allow a friendly name for this field so it can be linked to other tables. We're going to see the link when we fill the quiz table. Now let's fill the topics: general knowledge, science and nature, sports, history, and entertainment. Now let's fill the quiz table. We give a quiz ID a value, and using the expandable combo box, we can associate the quiz to a topic thanks to the friendly names we gave the created topics. We can keep on filling several other quizzes and associate them to a corresponding topic, like the one we just did. As we said before, Blazedpath creates JSON files with all the configurations we just did. So if you want to fill a big database, you could make a script and auto-generate the information manually directly to the JSON file. Now let's see the JSONs generated by this environment. In here, we can see the format for a quiz mock register. So to illustrate the way to add mocks, we have prepared a list of 250 quizzes, 50 for each category, following this format. We just have to select the registers and add them to the file that the default environment store in the mock section. If we see the environment now, we can see all the inserted quizzes. Now it's time to execute the web application by clicking on the Run button. This will make a memory compilation of all the application systems, and it will check for errors. On execution, we can see an error prompted by examining the switch console. In this console, we can see all the information that is thrown when the solutioning is running or compiling. In here, we can see that the UI component, CMP Home, in the Quizzes admin web frontend, and on the Quizzes game mobile app, do not have any implementations since they were auto-created empty through the architecture diagram. And all the components must have at least something inside to be able to present to a user. For now, let's just add a dummy button that will do nothing. Now let's click on Run again, and we'll wait for all the compiled systems to be up and running on memory. In the servers section on the bottom right, we can see 4 systems currently executing. We can select the database system and a window will pop up in which we can do database queries for testing. If we right-click on one of the tables, we can select all or the top 10 registers to check that the memory database is working correctly. Now let's see the microservice from the toolbar. This will open a homepage where we can query through a Swagger interface in which we can examine the exposed API from our microservice and the schema with the data types it handles. To test for communication with the microservice and that this is connecting to the mock database, we can use the getQuizzes method and check for all the quizzes through the try it out button and then the execute button. We can see that effectively we have inside the response body a JSON with all the information of the quizzes. At this point, we have a database model with mock information and the microservice environment configured to execute on the database that our web and mobile applications can use on development.